Secrets of ancient Egypt, which for thousands of years lay submerged beneath the Mediterranean. The treasures belong to two sunken cities which were thought to be the stuff of myth.
Beneath the calm waves off Egypt's coast lies a sunken city so massive, divers say they've only scratched 5% of it in 2 decades.
We started excavations there, but I would assess that we haven't excavate more than 5% of those two sites in 20 years.
We're talking collapsed temples, gold-covered rituals sealed in clay, and warships frozen mid-escape. But what's happening right now might be even scarier, because modern Alexandria is sinking faster than sea levels are rising. Stick around. You won't believe what archaeologists just pulled from the mud. The drone dives toward a sunken gateway. Just beneath the waves of Abu Qir Bay, off the coast of Alexandria, a remotely operated vehicle, an underwater drone, slips beneath the surface, heading toward a city lost to time. Not a shipwreck, not scattered ruins, but a full port city that once ruled the edge of the Nile, Thonis-Heracleion. It's sitting about 6.5 kilometers from the shoreline, in waters barely 10 meters deep. Shallow, but still deep enough to hide a civilization for over 1,000 years. Before Alexandria ever made the map, Thonis was it, the checkpoint, the maritime filter through which all foreign vessels passed before entering Egypt's sacred waters. And now, machines are closing in. Historians called it the Nile's Sea Gate. Traders called it the start of their Egyptian journey. The ruins stretch across a vast area, roughly 11 by 15 kilometers. Low islands, man-made canals, giant temple zones all woven together in a layout that looked like a floating city. And there's more. Herodotus once spoke of this place as the stage where Helen and Paris passed through after fleeing Troy. Strabo marked its position precisely where modern sonar found it. Some nicknamed it Egypt's Atlantis. Maybe that's dramatic, but here's what's 100% factual. After more than 20 years of diving, only about 5% of it has been explored. Until now. How they navigate the murk. The water here doesn't play nice. Visibility drops fast, sometimes to the length of a human arm. But the explorers behind this mission don't rely on eyesight. They've built a system that doesn't just see through the murk, it thinks through it. They start from the surface. Survey vessels sweep the area with side-scan sonar, bouncing sound waves off the seafloor to reveal outlines, columns, walls, fallen temples, etched like ghost images into mud. GPS technology locks every reading to centimeter-level precision. Then come the magnetometers, tuned not just to metal, but to disturbances in the Earth's field itself. These instruments pick up buried stonework like a metal detector tuned to time. But the real game changer? A tool called the parametric sub-bottom profiler. It sends out paired high frequencies that generate a low-frequency signal. That signal punches through layers of sediment and returns vertical cross-sections of the ground, like slicing through a mud cake to find treasure in the middle. Why does that matter? Because parts of Thonis are buried under meters of hard clay, and not metaphorical hard, real, compacted, flood-packed clay that sealed temples and artifacts like a time-locked vault. The profiler tells archaeologists exactly where to dig and where not to. The drone joins in next. Equipped with video, instruments, and precise probes, it scouts tight pockets beneath collapsed stone and tests sediment layers before any diver suits up. It's reconnaissance with surgical intent. When the digging begins, divers work inside a geo-referenced grid, snapping thousands of overlapping photos to build 3D maps in near-zero visibility. Even the dredging is delicate. Tiny vacuums filter the clay so nothing gets lost, from a gold ring to a fishbone. Bottom line? They don't beat the darkness, they outsmart it. First target, the Amun Temple's collapse zone. Buried beneath layers of clay and centuries of silence lies a scene frozen mid-disaster. The drone's first mission isn't just to explore, it's to descend into the exact zone where a sacred structure once fell apart. The Amun Temple, a place where pharaohs came to be crowned as universal rulers. In ancient Egypt, that made it the beating heart of legitimacy and divine power. But this heart didn't just stop, it collapsed. Archaeologists describe the scene like a layer cake. At the bottom, 5th century BCE timber posts from substructures. In the middle, a violent mid-2nd century BCE event that brought down massive stone blocks. And on top, about 3 meters of hard clay that sealed the chaos in place like a lid on a sarcophagus. Inside that sealed pocket, they found silver ritual instruments, gold jewelry, and alabaster perfume vessels. the kind of delicate pieces that could have been smashed or scattered, but weren't. Which raises the chilling thought, was a ceremony being prepared when the collapse hit? And then there's the Jed pillar, crafted from lapis lazuli, symbol of stability, found in a space created by catastrophic instability. That poetic contradiction says everything. Thanks to the tech, the team was able to pinpoint these fragile caches without disturbing the wrong layers. The geophysical survey read the clay like an MRI, and the ROV confirmed where to focus. What they uncovered was a temple's last gasp, frozen mid-moment and strangely intact. And deeper still, beneath the debris, wooden beams from an older phase of construction, meaning the collapse zone didn't just hold the end of a story, it preserved its beginnings too. A warship pinned in place. Just a few meters from the shattered sanctuary, something long and straight appeared beneath 5 meters of clay. At first, it was just an anomaly on a scan, but the moment researchers fed that data into the sub-bottom profiler, the outline sharpened, and the shape told its own story. A military vessel, still moored at the edge of the Amun temple's canal when the collapse came crashing down. Massive blocks dropped from above, acting like stone shackles, pinning the hull to the bottom. For more than 2,000 years, it never moved. The ship itself is a hybrid marvel, about 25 meters long, flat-bottomed for the Nile's shallow waters, but with a central keel for speed and structure. It was built for the Delta, but fast enough for patrol duty. Mortise and tenon joints, reused timbers, and a Greek-Egyptian design scream versatility. It's the kind of ship you'd expect to see circling a tense, multicultural port city like Thonis-Heracleion. Researchers say it likely dates to the 2nd century BCE, a time when tensions ran high under Ptolemaic rule. Which begs the question, was it simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, or was it stationed there for something bigger? Some suggest it was part of a ceremonial escort. Others see it as a routine security detail caught in a freak collapse. Proof of a multicultural port. Move east of the temple ruins, and another layer of the city begins to surface. One that's less about collapse and more about convergence. Nestled in the sediment, the team uncovered something unexpected, a sanctuary to Aphrodite. Not a roadside altar, a full-scale Greek religious site tucked into the Egyptian city's sacred core. The offerings left behind tell the story. Fine ceramics, bronze figurines, and imported goods that never originated in the Nile Delta. And scattered nearby, a stash of Greek weapons, blades and armor pieces of the type carried by hoplites. It lines up with the record. During the Site dynasty, around the 6th to 5th century BCE, Greeks were officially allowed to settle and trade in Thonis. But with privilege came responsibility. Someone had to guard the canopic mouth, and it seems they did exactly that. Armed, garrisoned, and active. The team also recovered a delicate bronze pourer shaped like a duck, likely used for libations. Nearby, a votive hand believed to be from Cyprus, small, specific, and revealing. These weren't just pretty trinkets, they were breadcrumbs. Clues mapping a network that stretched from the eastern Mediterranean into this drowned port's daily life. And the numbers speak louder. Archaeologists didn't just find 1 or 2 swords, they described the weapons as numerous. That kind of blunt detail suggests this sanctuary doubled as a social space for foreign soldiers, maybe even a place to pray before patrol. Monumental scale in the deep. Towering above what was once the ceremonial entrance to the port stood 3 giants, a pharaoh, a queen, and the god Happy, each carved in granite, each built to intimidate, impress, and inspire. Today, they lie in pieces. But when divers raised those fragments from the bay and fit them back together, Happy alone stood 5.4 meters tall, still the largest statue of a deity ever found in Egypt. To his sides, the pharaoh measured just over 5 meters and the queen close behind at 4.9. A granite gateway to the kingdom, lost beneath mud, now returned to the surface. And it wasn't just about size. These statues tell stories. Traces of ancient repairs on Happy's right side show temple workers tried to preserve the god before something, possibly an earthquake, toppled him. The pharaoh figure holds an enigmatic cylinder in his right hand, a visual cue of royal authority, carved for foreigners to see the moment they cleared open water. Getting them out was a feat of choreography. Divers strapped them with webbing underwater, lifting them piece by piece while keeping the granite from twisting. The whole process was captured in expedition footage and later, exhibition catalogs. At one point, Happy even flew in an Airbus Beluga for a European tour, a surreal twist for a 3rd century BCE giant. Now, the trio greets visitors inside the Grand Egyptian Museum. A ship graveyard like no other. Move across the bay, and what starts as scattered timbers quickly turns into something massive. Not one wreck, not 10, but over 125 ancient vessels with more than 700 anchors mapped and logged. The kind of numbers that don't just suggest traffic, they confirm a logistical heartbeat at Egypt's edge. Early reports said 70. That alone was historic, but newer data from the expedition blew the estimate wide open. Boats packed into channels, hulls layered like pages in a history book. Some even pinned down with wooden stakes, repurposed as makeshift piers or land extensions. Not every ship here sank by accident. Some were parked on purpose and turned into infrastructure, ancient civil engineering in its rawest form. And then there's Ship 17, the Barris. For decades, scholars doubted Herodotus's claims about a strange ship built with short acacia planks and stitched together like bricks. But there it was, exactly as he described it. Every tenon in place, every feature confirmed. A moment where ancient text and underwater timber lined up like a perfect match. Not all vessels were trade-related either. One particular skiff, carved from sycamore, a wood sacred to Osiris, was found scuttled with care in the Grand Canal. Around it, ladles and votive dishes scattered like ceremonial debris. Not a wreck, but a ritual, a symbolic burial that turned the harbor into a shrine. Why it sank. Heracleion didn't vanish because of war or slow decline. It disappeared because the ground beneath it betrayed everything built on top. The city sat on delta clay, soft, waterlogged, and dangerously unstable. For a long time, the process was subtle. Slow subsidence, rising seas, and the occasional tremor were manageable. But eventually, the clay reached a breaking point. Geoarchaeology lays out the chain reaction. A strong shock, maybe an earthquake, triggers what's known as liquefaction. The saturated clay loses strength, the water inside squeezes out, and suddenly, the solid ground turns fluid. Monuments tilt, temples crack, and entire neighborhoods slide into the water without warning. At the Amun precinct, archaeologists found blocks that had literally slid into a canal, traced layer by layer in the stratigraphy. Artifacts remained locked in pristine condition, capped beneath a hard layer of compacted clay. That's not erosion. That's a vertical drop. Wider evidence points to multiple disasters. The team cites several earthquakes followed by tidal waves, each one compounding the damage. In the end, a section of the delta roughly 110 square kilometers wide fell beneath the sea, taking Thonis-Heracleion and nearby Canopus down with it. And here's a modern twist. This isn't just an ancient problem. In the Nile Delta, the land often sinks faster than global sea level rises. So even without an ocean surge, cities can drown. Most of the relative sea level rise here comes from the land collapsing beneath itself. When you add seismic instability, heavy monuments, and wave pressure, the outcome becomes inevitable. Parallel story, next door. While the drone scours Abu Qir Bay, a new discovery begins to unfold just a few miles down the coast, inside Alexandria's eastern harbor. Known in antiquity as Portus Magnus, this was the heart of the royal quarter. And since 1992, archaeologists from the same mission have been mapping what lies beneath its waves. The scale is royal, a sunken island called Antiochos, a peninsula once crowned with temples to Poseidon, granite quays, stone platforms where Cleopatra, Caesar, and Antony once walked. All of it dropped beneath the surface, leaving fragments of power scattered across the seabed. But this isn't just rubble. The team found a full-sized priest statue holding an Osiris Canopus jar, 2 sphinxes, a granite head of Caesarion, the son of Cleopatra, likely from a statue that stood 5 meters tall. Each discovery helps redraw the city's sacred topography, right down to ceremonial avenues and palace terraces. The techniques mirror Heracleion's. Divers used magnetometers, sonar grids, and even silicone molds to read inscriptions directly on submerged stones. No lifting required. One nearby Roman shipwreck lay stretched across 350 square meters, pinned in place with no cargo. Possibly a harbor craft, possibly just in the wrong place on the wrong day. And then, something rare. The expedition now believes it has enough architectural remains to reconstruct Cleopatra's sanctuary to Isis in 3 dimensions. Not just as theory, but as a space once walked, prayed in, and defended. The myth says Cleopatra's tomb lies underwater. No one has found it. But what they've proven is just as profound, that parts of royal Alexandria truly did fall into the sea. That her world, her religion, her rule, it's all still down there. The terrifying modern echo. Here's where the past doesn't just echo, it crashes back. Right now, in modern Alexandria, buildings are falling, not a few. Authorities report around 40 collapses every year. That number used to be 1 per decade. Now it's a weekly headline. The culprit: saltwater intrusion creeping up through the ground, eating away at foundations from below, while the sea chips away from above. Over the last 2 decades, the coastline has shrunk, retreating at a rate of 3.5 meters per year. Entire fishing districts are losing land. 9 offshore concrete barriers are now under construction. Beaches are being refilled with imported sand, but the cracks are showing. Literally. About 7,500 buildings have been marked for demolition. That's 2% of Alexandria's entire housing stock, and more are slipping every day. A 2025 study in Earth's future names Alexandria as the most vulnerable urban strip in the Mediterranean. It links collapse patterns to shoreline retreat, groundwater salinization, and subsiding clay soils, the same exact recipe that once swallowed Heracleion. Widen the lens, and the danger spreads. A Nature Communications analysis shows 37 out of 49 coastal UNESCO heritage sites in the Mediterranean are already at risk from flooding. 42 are being eroded right now. By the end of the century, flood risk could rise by 50%. For Alexandrians, the past feels close, especially when modern apartment blocks creak in silence before giving way. Fishermen trust what they see more than what they're told. Offshore, artificial reef structures grow like concrete coral. Onshore, some still whisper that Cleopatra's tomb lies beneath the waves. What the ROV adds that divers can't. Here's where the mission shifts from human endurance to machine precision. Divers can only stay down so long, and overhangs or silted voids can turn deadly in seconds. The ROV rewrites those limits. It scouts where people can't go, staying in the water for hours, hovering steady even in surge, threading itself into gaps beneath collapsed stone. Every movement is mapped. Pilots on deck fly it using acoustic positioning, ultra-short baseline GPS, so each second of video and every sample is tagged to exact coordinates. That means when the team reviews footage weeks later, they can return to the same square meter, even in near-zero visibility. And unlike the pop science image of an untethered drone, research ROVs always run with an umbilical. That cable powers the system and streams data live to the ship. Nothing is left to chance when an artifact is sitting in the frame. In Abu Qir Bay, that feed has already turned sonar blobs into solid identifications. Fuzzy outlines on an acoustic map become walls, timbers, or temple blocks once the ROV pans across them. It doesn't stop there. The vehicle can drop laser dots for measurement, sweep in pre-planned arcs for photogrammetry, and, when approved, lift fragile bowls or ornaments with a soft grip arm that transmits resistance back to the pilot's hands. The precision extends beyond the ship. On well-equipped expeditions, the feed rides ashore by telepresence. Conservators, linguists, and epigraphers can call shots in real time, tilt the camera, zoom on a detail, avoid that seam. The ROV hovers, steady and patient, while experts hundreds of miles away direct the work. Could the next discovery change history again? Drop your theories in the comments, and if you want more, hit subscribe. Because this story, it's only just beginning.